The essence of my essay is that the Iraq War broke the West. In particular, that it broke the Western-backed idea of an international framework that was created after the Second World War. If you go back to the end of the Second World War, you find that there was an idea created from the ruins of Europe and Asia that a new framework was needed to contain the raw power of nations. Europe was especially concerned about Germany, and Asia about Japan, two giants that had affected their regions with their raw power. What came into place was the United Nations and complementary organizations like the International Court. But the essence of the idea was to remake the international order to ensure that small countries were protected from larger ones and that the interests of one country could not impose itself destructively on others. This is what we understand today as the global order. Iraq was the first big test of that international order after the end of the Cold War. Iraq was a raw power war, an attempt by the United States, to borrow a phrase from Tony Blair, to reorder the world around it. The question was, could the international system contain America? We now know the answer to that. Despite failing to get authorization from the United Nations Security Council, despite a flimsy case for war, and despite millions of people around the world against the war, it still went ahead. It was the first raw power war of the 21st century and left the international framework the West had created after World War II in ruins. Two things happened in Iraq. It was America's moment of imperial overreach, its attempt to remake the world around it, a project it failed to carry out. And it was the moment when the notion of an international framework collapsed. The repercussions of that are now being felt, but are not all immediately obvious. They will become clearer in the coming years and decades. The next rising power, China, will find it hard to agree to be bound to a Western-led international framework that even the West won't adhere to. If America will not adhere to the international laws on war, why, China will ask itself, should they agree to international laws on human rights, on climate change, on copyright, on cyber warfare? That was why the Iraq War broke the West. It broke the notion that every country in the world was subordinate to international law. The unraveling of that political compact between nation states will be with us for many decades yet.